What's up, everybody? Hello, and welcome into Disconnected's first round coverage of the 48th annual Wintertime Open. I'm Ethan Wellin, joined in the booth as always by Chris Brophy.
Hey guys.
Chris, it's a cold winter day in Pasadena, California, and today's feature card is going to include our defending champion, Cam Rico, out of Silmar, California, as well as Jacob Courtis, Cupcake, from Buena Park, Josh Anthon, a 1017 rated pro out of Sacramento, and of course you all know Drew Gibson out of, where's Drew these days?
Arizona.
Arizona, thank you. A really tough opening hole, the Wintertime Open layout, the first ever permanent disc golf course, but we're playing a stretched and more challenging version today. Chris, can you walk us through this first par 3 with the mandatory?
First hole, par 3 with a mandatory. First thing I'm going to say is I don't like calling this a par 3. I didn't really look at the stats, but I feel like there were very few twos, if any. And if there were any, I'm calling it an eagle. So first thing I'm going to do is say shame on you TDs. We're calling this a 300 and something foot par 4.
The setup shot, if you were to imagine yourself getting a birdie, it's this thing Drew is doing, a really skippy, low shot, tight to the mandatory, bending perhaps as much as 100 feet left of that marked tree, and even that leaves maybe a 40 or 50 foot obstructed jump putt. So really challenging tee shot, and Jacob Cupcake has made the other mistake you can't make, which is just to push it long into the road.
Yeah, the upshot's really tough if you get deep into that road at all. Like, you want to throw it hard enough to kind of get up there, but if you get towards the road, you're blocked by all those trees. I mean, I didn't see anybody get anywhere near putting on this. So, sure, some of the open guys did at some point, but there was a lot of what you're seeing here. Forehand up shots. I mean, I saw roller up shots from some people. Like, very tough par 3.
The scoring average, 0.53 strokes over par, so kind of halfway between a 3 and a 4, and there were several par 4s on this course with a lower total scoring average, so holes where a birdie would be more likely than an eagle would be more likely than a birdie is here.
First round of the day, or first round of the weekend. Looks like some of these guys a little rusty here. Finding the putt, always tricky on the first hole of a 3-day event. Hopefully they'll iron out some of this. But I think our opening card is showing us exactly that. It was a tough par 3.
Things get a little easier on the second hole. 292 feet, 2 options. There's a low sidearm on the left side, probably the more common choice because you can use the shape of this green to stop the disc, kind of use it as a backboard. There's also a straight backhand mid-range play available to the right-handers, passing up the right side of all these trees in the center of our frame.
Real funky shot because that, as you saw the sidearm there with Josh, if you push it wide enough to get to the basket, it's going to get caught up in those trees probably. So you almost have to play slightly right of the target if you're going with the forehand. Kind of like Cupcake's doing here. Should get a putt out of that. Oh, or you get the reverse skip and almost throw it in. Backhand has some tighter gaps, but if you can find that gap, it's a pretty straightforward throw.
It's going to be a tough 3-over start through 2 for Drew. Drew's off to a good start this season. We talked in our La Mirada Open coverage about his health, rounding back into form. He placed really highly at the Memorial, I think 4th or 5th place last week, included a 1095 round at Fountain Hills. Golfing at Oak Grove is probably the polar opposite, I would say, of golfing at Fountain Hills. A lot of claustrophobic lines, a lot of places you can't miss, and pretty much no opportunity to take advantage of big distance. So it'll be a challenge for Drew to adapt his game this weekend.
Yeah, even on some of these holes where some extra distance helps, it's pinched off. Like, it's hard to see the out of bounds line running up the left side of this fairway, but you know, in past years you'd see Macbeth throw big wide turnovers, but there's no B line over there, so it made it pretty risky. So you're exactly right. Opposite golf of what they've done the last couple of weeks. Fountain Hills and La Mirada finally got some trees involved, some rocks, some dirt, a little different golf. Tough little hole, tough pin position on this green, tucked way up on the right side of the hill. You play it over to the right and stay away from out of bounds, and you're gonna have a pretty tough gap over there. I'm not sure if Cam's gonna have much of a look.
Yeah, because of the right side corner late in this fairway, the best place to be able to approach the green from is actually where Cupcake has just landed, or even further to the left, out in that clear area just inside of the out of bounds line. I think that's why Josh is opting for the roller, trying to set up a better angle.
Oh, that's a good place to be.
Yeah, it'll just be a straight mid-range from there, I think, or maybe even a putter.
Now, Drew has such a strong backhand roller. Would have liked to have seen that keep going. He might have been putting. Yeah, so you could see, you know, Cam played it over to the right where it's nice and safe away from out of bounds, but that's not an easy upshot.
He got it up there, maybe edge of C1. You're risking, definitely risking the 2-meter penalty. 2 meter is in effect this weekend, and going up and over like Cam did, you're really taking a chance with these oaks.
Very sticky trees. Seen a lot of forehand approaches into the screen so far. Give it more of a chance to stay there, maybe.
Dangerous green as well. Definitely one of those buckets where an air ball might be better than hitting front cage.
Yeah, you got to mind your metal here. Make sure it's intentional metal. A few rollaways out on this course. I think of Wintertime Open, this layout. I think about surviving the first third of the course. You know, these first few holes are pretty tough. And then it kind of opens up with some more birds on the back. So hopefully you can avoid any big numbers. Here's the famous spider tree shot, even though we weren't playing to the spider tree itself. You know, it's hard to tell how steep this is watching on video. If you haven't ever been there, you have to really throw it up, but then under the trees.
Yeah, uphill to a low ceiling fairway, so very precise with the nose angle. You got a mandatory on the left side of the fairway early that you have to mind, and if you can get it up here in the flat, kind of around where that picnic table is, you've got a straight approach, or really a short par 4. So the getting off the tee here really makes a big difference in your scoring opportunity.
Yeah, very specific shot. You can't miss left, right, up, or down. It has to be exact. That's a little high and a little right. And I bet that's a bogey.
Boy, yeah. Knocked down short of the mandatory, so he's going to have a lot of distance to travel from an awkward angle.
Josh attacks the Mandy. I think he missed it.
Yeah, he'll proceed to a drop zone up on the upper shelf there.
Guys having trouble getting off on this first one. Occasionally you'll just see a forehand just pitch up just to, even though you're going away from the hole at the end, at least you can get up top. There you go, Drew. That's drifting towards out of bounds. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Found the OB. Tough hole.
So important at Oak Grove, and when you finding yourself in a position like Jacob is in here, to have the discipline to just throw to a spot. He's really only, all these guys are only about 320 feet perhaps from the pin where they're standing, but there is just no angle, and it can be really hard for guys that are used to making 12 or 14 birdies around to back down and just try to set up a chance for a par.
Just take the medicine. Yeah, you can't tell it home the fairly tight out of bounds line on that right side and behind it. So once again, very specific. Oh, there's that line.
Drew just trying to set up an opportunity to save his par. And Cam is now standing in the spot where a perfect drive would land. So he's going to get up and down for his par.
Tough one.
Drew off to a really tough start, perhaps reflecting on life there in the background, sitting on one of the many Oak Grove picnic tables.
4 up after 4 holes is never how you want to start a 3-day event, but Drew's a wily vet. He knows it's not over yet. A lot of golf left. Just keep fighting. Definitely not the start he wanted.
Hole 5. This is maybe one of my favorite par 4s on this course. So much can happen here. A tight gap off the tee. This road defines an out-of-bounds area, a river, and then crossing over onto this peninsula where the basket is located. 470 feet, so not a long ways to go, but really have to be precise in terms of your placement off the tee in order to set up a good angle for the second shot.
Made this hole a little longer than it was last year. Different pin position.
Really good safe play by Cam. If you see the disc moving left, skipping left, no danger of out of bounds going over there. Whereas a straighter shot flipping up brings these rocks into play. Cupcakes can be fine there. That's a good spot.
You know, I could see a player like Josh being good at a course like this. His home course, Shady Oaks, up in Orangevale in the Sacramento area, reminds me a lot of Oak Grove, actually. It's like a longer, tougher Oak Grove. Kind of like our Wintertime Open layout, so probably comfortable on this kind of terrain. Expect him to do well this weekend. Speaking of doing well, here's our reigning champ, the most local of these 4.
A lot of good work done off the tee by Cupcake there to make this an easy approach, and likewise for Drew. Should see a lot of birdies on our card.
Yeah, these guys played this well.
Let's just see Josh get the knucks from his son in the background. For some of our watchers who might have joined the sport, in COVID or during the more recent boom, they might not know or recognize Josh Anthon. It's a strange story, Chris, with a lot of up and downs. Maybe we'll get into it after we talk about hole 6. 327 feet, a par 3. The area we're coming up on in between these two lines of rocks is a out of bounds area, or a hazard, excuse me, and then the flag circle around the green defines the only inbounds area on the other side there. So a real decision to be made off this tee.
So a lot of people laying this one up, not going for the 2. Like Cam there, he's decided to just take his 3 or take a 60-foot chip at it. Looked like it might have almost been in between, but might have gotten away with it. I bet Josh goes for this. Yeah.
Very aggressive player.
You know, think about a hole like this. You know, if you go for it, there's so much stuff to hit that you probably get away with just that layup anyways. I kind of like that play. Just go for it and see what happens. You get stuck in the middle, you might have a tough putt for par, but definitely not an easy bird from the other side of the rocks here.
Yeah, I
Kind
mean,
of
with
a tweener.
definitely a tweener. With the wind down, you see a lot of legitimate runs from the short side, but you know, obviously never a high percentage shot trying to make a putt from 100 feet.
Josh went for it, landed safe, and took the bogey anyways.
Yeah, punished by a bit of a sloppy approach shot there.
Hey, you mentioned Josh. He's been around a long time. Josh, I know he got second at the Worlds at least once.
3 times. 3 times a runner-up at the World Championship, including the 5-hole playoff against Avery Jenkins, the Kansas City Worlds. I was there in person for that one, Chris, and it was a wild ride. You know, Josh, of course, also a lot of trouble off the course that I think in some ways you could say derailed his career, maybe caused him to not quite reach the level of promise that his abilities dictate. You know, I'm not personally. I'm just going to say I'm not here to tell you guys if you should root for Josh or not root for Josh. I mean, obviously the disc golf world has had its say on all of that, but a man who has at times demonstrated a desire to work on himself. You know, he's out here with his son, you know, on the bag, and so I just think, you know, he certainly finds peace on the course, and hope that he can just, you know, continue to find that in his game, to build on that, and you know, just an incredible disc golf player. So I'd like to see that part of his life continue to flourish.
Something I've always admired about Josh is his mental toughness. He is such a fierce competitor. Some people may know, you know, some things about him. One thing that's always stuck out to me was that he was shot in the shoulder with a shotgun when he was a kid. And you could see some of the damage in there. So like physically, he probably should not be a pro athlete, but mentally and emotionally, he has carved himself into you know, one of the best disc golfers in the world. And even though he's over 40, he's still out here competing with the kids. And yeah. Cam going ace run? Oh, I read that wrong. Maybe just a birdie.
Hole 8 in my mind is the place where you can start to think about really attacking this course and stringing together a lot of birdies. A pretty simple, straightforward hyzer for the pros at this level, 330 feet. The wind was not up this weekend. So you want to see something that's kind of moving to the left, disappearing behind that line of trees, and almost always going to end up with some kind of like 20 to 30 foot putt like Drew has here. And that's well done. In years where the wind is ripping, you see guys Sisyphus this hole a little bit. Airball back and forth and take a big number, but I just don't think with the wind down like it was this year that we saw much of that.
Yeah, these guys made this hole look easy and the one before it too. A couple of hyzers, take the skip, hit a putt. Definitely hit the section of the course where you can start getting some birds, and there's still some tough shots out there, but now they're on the part of the course where they can start racking up some green.
Hole 9, the big par 4, made famous in some ways, I think, by Mr. Paul Macbeth in the previous decade. There is an over-the-top play where you can navigate all the way past and around this mandatory if you have the power for it. There's also just a more straightforward 2-shot option to play straight to the corner and then hopefully setting up another straight shot or a hyzer down to this pretty open, pretty forgiving green.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Paul hasn't played this tournament in a while, but this kind of became known as the Paul Macbeth hole because he eagled it so many times in so many consecutive years that he just owned it by going that route that Cupcake did, up and over those trees and getting behind the Mandy. I feel like that's a 600 feet of power type of throw, maybe 580 to really navigate that safely. Those trees are pretty tall. Yeah. Josh going with the more mortal route down the middle. You want to keep it straight. You don't want to play it over towards the Mandy. You want to stay straight off the tee so you have the angle.
Yeah.
Like, even though that's kind of wide right, he'll have probably a better angle than Josh. Sidearm roller might give you a look.
Yeah, the grass is really long on that backside. I expect Josh to have maybe 45 feet.
Yeah, so felt like that tee shot was a little worse, but it had a little better angle.
Wow, and look how far around the corner Drew and Cupcake are. How much easier this hole is with that big power.
Yeah. Get some.
You look back and see how many of those Wintertime Opens in the 2010s, Paul Macbeth won by 8, 10, 12, 14 strokes. A lot of it was these holes where a big shot could net you an eagle in a time when the disc golf world was not full of people that could make those shots.
No, well, and also, it's not like he was parking it. He was hitting like a 100-footer every time, so just weird how it just kept happening. 100-footer, 90-footer, 85-footer.
Front nine, it's a jam-packed leaderboard as you might expect. A couple of 4-unders, including Cupcake on our card. The chasers, Zaylin Nash and Dallas Garber, a couple of young guns. Expect to see electric scores on the back nine and maybe some double-digit rounds by the time it's all said and done.
Now we're heading down into the desert under the shadow of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which you can see the logo for if we panned a little farther left. Appropriate because it is a bit of a moonscape out there. Not a lot in the way. Could be looked at as kind of boring, potentially, compared to some of those other holes. But boy, you can score on these. So I'm sure these guys want to walk away with going 4 for 4 out here in the desert.
As Mr. Courtis gets knocked down by that one bush guardian, Drew's pretty much played it perfectly. The two things that stick in your mind as you throw this hole, you have to stay out of those power lines. So you don't really want to throw the high hyzer. But you do have to make sure that you pass to the right or above that bush. So looks like Josh is even going in front of it. Kind of a peculiar angle, but it works out. This is probably all of 70 feet.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Cam throw his drive so low. And he drills the putt. Let's go, Cam.
Great putt. Not wasting any energy.
A little bit of an anger putt. He's probably like, what am I doing way the heck back here?
Yeah.
Pretty simple hyzer for him. Dead center for Josh. Drop in for Drew. Let's see if these guys can get hot through this section now.
A couple of the easiest holes according to scoring average right here in this section of the course. Hole 11 is as wide open as it gets, 297 feet. I think the purest play, certainly a nice little chip forehand out there in all that wide open airspace, but you see plenty of straight ahead backhand mid-ranges. And you might see Drew Gibson go straight over everything.
Now it's a little riskier. He's over out of bounds, right away. Cam took a route that did not go over out of bounds. As you said, a forehand gets you there without even having to think of out of bounds. Or if you do, it's going to be very, very late. And you probably still have a circle's edge putt.
That's going to check up just fine for Cupcake. Looks like we're going to have 4 C1 attempts.
Good putt, Josh. Josh known as a fierce putter. Man, he could throw, and he could throw sneakily far too, but man, that guy can putt.
Often see Jacob is going to opt for that upside down putt from close range. And just a tap in for Cam. 4 birdies, that's exactly what you would expect to see.
There's NASA in the background, our Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Somebody's in there driving around the Mars rover right now. Thank you, NASA.
Hole 12, the card says 310 feet. I don't buy it, Chris. I think this thing is 330. Drew is going out and over the OB. That's going to be a pretty common play, as this fence line is going to define the safe area. And Drew is probably going to be safe up there. It bubbles out a little bit next to the green. In a ripping wind, this hole can be really a bit sketchy, but calm today. You choose your stability and your width correctly, you're going to be just fine.
So it's an interesting hole, a little bit like that last one where you have out of bounds right away on your right and then also deep. Backhand is a little sketchy because of that. You're probably going, nice putt, Josh. You're probably going over the out of bounds right away, and so people that don't get back in, they're almost re-teeing. I have to ask you, because I didn't get to see you play, were you throwing forehands on it?
I threw forehand all 3 rounds. Yeah, left side of that big bush short of the green. If you have the power to do that, I think it's almost a zero risk way to approach the hole.
Double Island. Tricky little hole.
Yeah, an interesting hole. The 2 rock circles we're passing over are the only inbounds areas on this hole. Everything else is a hazard. So it is, you know, a nice gradation of penalty between a close miss and a horrible miss. A close miss is still going to have a chance to make a par. And Drew describes his feelings on his miss there. You know, I like the sidearm here once again, and the reason is that the tree that Cam just struck is hanging right over the front edge of the island. All the rest of those trees and bushes are blocking the right side, and they're all inbound. So a sidearm is almost like hitting a brick wall that's going to keep you in putting range, whereas the backhand is fighting through that wall. Perfect shot by Cupcake, judging the weight. See, Drew is like really having to work just to save his bogey from over there.
The out of bounds sneaks up on you on that left side. It's actually pretty close, maybe 25 feet or so. So not uncommon to see somebody throw a forehand and, you know, not get a great skip or something, not make it all the way back in. So tricky little hole.
Yeah, certainly the most challenging in this stretch of the course.
And we leave the desert and we go to the
hole 14th, another short par 4 and a unique kind of an S-line shot, 435 feet. If you control the height, this shot is very eagleable, and we typically see a few every weekend, including one last year by Owen Scoggins, I believe.
I watched Owen throw that one in. Yeah. I think I just forwarded it, so that was depressing. But yeah, there's Josh passing on the right side of what we call the green monster, but then on the left side of the power pole. He'll give himself a shot at birdie. Cupcake has the power to eagle this if he can keep it turned over. He does not. Drop.
Looks like a very controlled swing from Cupcake. I'm not sure that is An aggressive eagle play.
And Drew slides it right across that out of bounds line and over the next tee pad and off someone's shin.
Yeah, looked like he struck another competitor over there.
Cam should have an easy birdie there. This is a tricky green. Got some weird low ceiling stuff at the very end of it. So you could be fairly close and it still be a kind of a touchy upshot. Late low ceiling branch, you'll see people have to decide whether to go over it or under. I saw some of each last weekend.
And it's going to be a couple of pretty easy birdies. Let's see if Cam can capitalize. Yep. And then Drew also navigating the hole in 3 shots, but just eating that penalty stroke. Hole 15, Chris, walk us through.
So, a lot of people like going forehand. You need to go left of that tree, and you can't go through it. So, left side of that Mandy, you want to land somewhere either in the dirt or even better if you can get up on the left side of the screen, have a little straighter shot. For me, I think every round it was forehand, and then a short putt. The backhand shot, I'm always amazed when I see people navigate it off the tee. It's much harder.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing you always have to think about on this hole is there's a tee sign for the permanent course that sits almost right exactly where you want to aim that forehand. So, like the way Cupcake's doing it, passing inside of it, a disc that's going to kind of flip up and glide further around that corner.
Oh. Hey. Oh, you didn't. You called it.
Cursed him. I'm sorry, Cam.
Wonder if he picked a side. So that was pretty casual. So I would have liked to see Drew throw that a little bit harder because I fear he's not going to have a great angle from where he is. I mean, maybe he has a gap to get through.
Yeah, you want to get 20 feet further than where he just went. The ceiling is really low on that short right side.
Good shot from Josh.
Cam now just trying to save a par. Looks like he's done that. Okay, so Drew got all the way past to the backside of that low ceiling area.
Good bird.
Scoring starting to heat up here for Cupcake and Josh as they approach the double-digit mark. We've got a very birdieable par 3 here, 265 feet. A bit of a low ceiling, but nothing unmanageable. And you've got 2 gaps. You can choose right side or left side of this tree that we've just flown by. Forehand and backhand both available. The one thing is that in years past, this has kind of all been hard pan, but this year, so much rain in Southern California, the grass is a little bit longer in that short area where Josh just landed, and if you don't fly past that, you can get caught up about 50 short.
Cupcake opted for a route I've never seen before. Looks like it might not have quite worked all the way. So that little stone sink thing, that's the main obstacle on this hole. It's so interesting. You know, the backhand's a little harder shot. It feels like it sets up great for a forehand, but that stone sink structure is perfectly placed for a forehand. At least if you're going with an overstable forehand. I think the way to maybe trick that is you dump some hyzer on a flippy disc. You can get it to get inside of that and then finish straight. So,
talking about a very technical shot there.
Very techy.
I'll be interested to see if Jacob is going to stick with this over-the-top play for the rest of the tournament, and maybe we can see, you know, the intended result in a future round. I've just never seen anybody take that approach off this tee, so I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, interestingly, it feels like he's thrown a lot of forehands, more than I'm used to seeing him throw, and it's working. I mean, he's in first at this point, so yeah, especially since there's a 2-meter rule this weekend, I'd rather not see him go over the top on those. There's a little temp hole they had to throw in. Kind of some cool texture on this, same thing. Forehand's blocked off. It's doable, but it's kind of blocked, so it forces you into probably more of a funky little backhand. Like a lot of the shots at Oak Grove, there's a few different gaps you can hit to still get there. The parking lot was pretty close and out of bounds, so you had to worry about the finish. But if you could throw something straight through that gap.
Yeah, I like that play. It's going to leave Josh maybe 25 feet, but it's just such a pure... If you believe in the putt, it's just such a pure way to play the hole.
Yeah, a little flip up mid or putter for these guys. Good putt, Cupcake.
The putt has looked really good today for him. I think that's a key to his game, especially out here, to feel a little bit of confidence on that putter. Obviously an elite thrower of the disc, so bodes well for his chances this weekend. Cupcake, by the way, a previous champion of the Wintertime Open 2022. So he's got some good mojo out here. Hole 18 is a bruiser. 590 feet, tight gaps, late mandatories. You want to throw something straight, maybe 340 off this tee, Chris?
Pick a side of that telephone pole.
Yeah, miss the telephone pole. You see the mandatory here on the left side of our frame. Got to pass to the right of that. You would love to just end up resting right at this rock line, looking down one of these hallways. But sometimes a foot to the left or a foot to the right, you can kind of have nothing in terms of going for the birdie on this hole.
Got an out of bounds line running on the left side, parking lot on the right. Tricky finishing hole. Weird low ceiling putt stuff at the end too. Not every 25-foot space actually gives you a putt.
I think Josh just missed the mandatory there.
Cupcake not messing with it at all. Oh, hits a car to kick back inbounds.
So safe as to be almost too safe.
Yeah, didn't want to mess with the Mandy and got himself messing with the OB. Beautiful shot by Drew if it goes far enough. That was a great shape. And tugged inside because you don't want to mess with the Mandy.
This is a classic situation like we were talking about earlier, just like having the discipline to not go for too much. Cam only threw that maybe 150 feet, but he gave himself a great opportunity to get his par. This is the drop zone because Josh missed the mandatory.
A little tight.
The scariest thing to me about all these second shots up these tunnels is that the disc just seems to always go howling out of bounds across that left side line if you touch anything. So you really want to focus in and throw a clean shot.
They're forehand from Cupcake. Ooh.
Disappointing miss for our defending champion. I think that's going to probably knock him out of any chance for the lead card. Steady final par by Cupcake. Bogey by Josh is going to leave him 2 back going into day 2. And a tough, kind of a disappointing day for Drew. Still only 6 back though. You can turn it around with an 11 or 12 under tomorrow and be right back in the conversation. Take a look at our round 1 leaderboard. It's a logjam, Chris. I mean, Zaylin Nash, Philip Romney out of Utah right there, Dallas Garber, some other guy. A lot of fight left in the Wintertime Open. Come back and join us for round 2. In the booth, I'm Ethan Wellin, joined as always by Chris Brophy.
See you next time.